every variable must have a type, because C# is a statically typed language. Because every variable must have a type, it is invalid to set any expression that is not a string to this variable, which means that is a syntax error. Now, this wouldn't be a syntax error in many dynamic languages, but it is in C#. It's a syntax error because the 10 right here is called an integer literal, which means that it's a number, basically. It's literal, which when I say the word literal, I mean it's hard-coded into the program. And because this value right here, 10, is not a string, it cannot be assigned to the string name. So that's what a type is. All variables must have a type. A type will constrain what that variable can be set to. Now we know that console.readline returns a string, and we know that because if I hover over it, it says that right there. It says string console.readline. So we know that we can assign anything that is returned from console.readline to a string variable. If we look at console.writeline, console.writeline returns void. Void is not a string, which means it would be invalid to say name equals console.write. As you see right here, it says cannot convert source type void to target type string. We'll talk a little bit more about void later once we get into methods, but I just wanted to point that out, that what I'm doing here isn't, again, it's not magic. There is logic to every line of code that's here, and we can follow that logic simply by hovering our mouse over what we want to know. So if we want to know what type name is, it says string name, or we could just look at line 7. If we want to know what console.readline gives us back, we can hover over it. We know it returns a string. If we want to know what console.writeline returns back, we look at it as a void, which technically means nothing, but we'll get to that. A Boolean is another data type. So we have strings that contain text, but we can also have bools that contain true or false. So I can say bool, my bool variable, and I can say my bool variable equals true, and I can say console.writeline my bool variable, and if I run this code, notice up there how it says true. All Booleans can ever contain is the value true, which is a Boolean literal, or the value false, which is also a Boolean literal. I want to point out that unlike some languages, C# does not automatically convert things from different data types into Booleans, which means that if, unlike some languages, I cannot say my bool var equals name. I can't do that because these two variables have different types. My bool variable has a type of bool, string or name has the type of string. They are not compatible. Alrighty. Actually, for the sake of completeness, I want to include one more thing.
Okay.
Bool is a keyword in C# that, just like string, will actually turn into system.boolean. So these two lines do the same thing, just with different identifiers. So bool, again, there's nothing magical about this. This isn't something that's actually, it's built into the language in a way, but I wanted to point out that the system.boolean is an actual type that is available to us by the BCL. And the bool keyword is just a way to write this shorthand. One of the reasons I want to include this is, for some reason, some people prefer doing the longhand way of writing variables out, particularly people who come from Java. But I wanted to point out that these are the exact same thing. So if you ever see system.boolean or just boolean if you have system imported, it's the same thing as bool.